Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Very rarely do I agree with promoters, or should I say trust promoters, when they come out with their, usual bollocks. Um, but I read an article in that was on the Boxing News online website, and it was about Bob Arum, who's 93 now. I mean, when you get to 93, you don't give a fuck, do you? You're just going to say what you think. It's like you're on borrowed time anyway, so it's like I'm going out with a bang. You know, as the saying goes, when you get towards the end of the play, you can overact appallingly. but he was talking about Canelo and Terence Crawford fighting, and he said if they're going to really fight, I think it's terrific. I think it's very interesting. But again, if I had to pay money to watch that fight, I wouldn't do it, because Canelo has shown in his last few fights that he's just a businessman. He's not in there to entertain the public. He just takes the big check. And then Arum was asked if Crawford could beat Canelo. And he said, who is Canelo? What Canelo is going to show up? The Canelo who's looking to cash a big check, or the Canelo who really wants to fight like a fighter? And then he goes on to say, why would Canelo take a chance? That's no good for boxing. In the old days, when we had a fighter like Sugar Ray Leonard or Oscar de la Hoya doing a fight, they had a reason to really give the crowd an entertaining fight, because their next fight had already been agreed to. But they stood to make extra money from the pay-per-view, from the gate. So that was an incentive always for them to look good. Now that incentive is gone, because they're promised great money for their next fight. And the only sure way they're going to get it is to not engage in a fight. So let's pick that apart. What Arum is saying is that fighters, instead of getting the flat fee, they would get a big flat fee if it was pay-per-view, but they'd also get a chunk of the pay-per-view. So they had I suppose you would say, an incentive to put on a good performance, to promise entertainment and deliver it, rather than I have read that Canelo for the skull fight, that completely awful non-entity of a contest, that non-contest, I heard that Canelo got $100 million against William Skull. Can that be true? I mean, it might be. With Turkey El Sheikh, his money flying around, you never know, do you? But I do feel that Arum has a point here, in that, at what point does a fighter have to take responsibility for entertaining the public? Or are we getting to the stage where fighters are paid so much in advance, guaranteed so much, that they really don't have to make much effort, and they're getting paid enormous amounts of money to fight, not elite other fighters, not like, Crawford Spence or Canelo Golovkin or something like that, but run-of-the-mill fighters, run-of-the-mill opponents. I think it's getting to the point where the public I don't have a lot of faith in the public action when it comes to boxing, because they seem to buy any old crap. But it might get to the point where they say, we're not having this, we're not buying it, it's a load of shite. Because ultimately the whole concept of pay-per-view is supply and demand, and if the demand's there, they'll supply it, but you've got to pay through the nose for it. I mean, I know I always get back to it, but look at Mayweather, the shit that he used to peddle on pay-per-view, and look at the figures. I mean, that 5 years past it Pacquiao contest, and then that McGregor circus. I mean, this did gargantuan numbers. People just lapped it up, slavishly devoted to the cult of Mayweather, bought any old crap that he was involved in, because he, I'm the best ever, which of course he isn't, and, I'm this, I'm that. And they were boring fucking fights against people who were either way past it or never really had a chance anyway. So I don't no, I mean, I think Arum's got a point here with Canelo. And Canelo, I've never been a massive Canelo fan. from the days when he was, dragging people down at Canelo weight. Remember those days? And some of the decisions that he got, Lara, and we all know about the Golovkin fights, and the first two anyway. I always felt that the deck was firmly stacked in his favour. And now it's got to the point where I think Arum's right. He's just collecting paychecks. And Crawford, when all is said and done, as good as Crawford is, he looked average at 154. And is essentially jumping up 2 weights to fight a man who was long established in that weight division. And then there's, of course, the PED suspicions. So I've never been a Canelo fan, but I think never has my opinion of him been so low as now. And I think Arum has a point. Although Arum doesn't stop there with Canelo. He's also made comments about Devin Haney. He says Devin Haney is a very good fighter. But the fight with Ramirez was a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. But if you're Devin Haney and you're getting good money for the fight with Ramirez, which was Jose Ramirez, who he beat in an incredibly defensive, conservative, please don't hit me performance. He said, if you're getting that money for a fight with Ramirez and you're going to get super money to fight Ryan Garcia because he assumed that Garcia would win against Rolando Romero, why would you take any risks? But that's not good for boxing. And I do agree with Arum. I mean, that Times Square thing was just awful. I mean, to be honest, if you looked at I do sort of feel a little bit for Turkey in this respect because those fights on paper look pretty decent. But you've got to step up and perform. And then the following day, there was that Canelo-Williams School thing. Oh, fuck me. I mean, it was only Inoue that saved that whole appalling weekend with a brilliant fight, But that's the difference. People will pay to see Inoue. And if they carry on paying to see Canelo, Haney, Garcia, all these others who just don't deliver, well, you get what you deserve, don't you? But don't expect, to get good quality unless you make a stand and say, well, this isn't good enough. And the way that you do that ultimately is with your wallet by saying, I'm not buying this shite. If I want to watch it, I'll watch it via other means, which I do. But it kind of ties in with what I've often said on this channel, I mean, more times than I can count, and that is that if you're a boxing fan and not a fanboy, not a sort of member of any cult, whether it's Fury, Mayweather, whoever, if you're someone who just loves boxing, very often you'll find the quality, A, in the lower weights, because the Japanese scene always provides excellent value for money. Can't think of the last time I saw a bad Japanese card. Or with sort of lower level guys, like we just seen, Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen go at it again. That was a good fight and a good little card. It wasn't pay-per-view. Ben Eubank certainly was pay-per-view, but turned out to be a barn burner of a contest. So, I mean, you get these, you've got to make a stand. You must avoid at all costs saying, well, that's just the way it is. Well, I'm moaning about it, but I'm not going to do anything about it to change it because it's just the way it is, isn't it? If you do that, suck it up, buttercup. That's the way it's going to go. That's what you're going to have to put up with. It ain't going to change. You want to change something, you got to act. That means getting off your ass or actually thinking about things and making a stand. I mean, don't forget when, we had David Haye against Audley Harrison and then Haye versus Klitschko, which both of those were appalling pay-per-views, virtually killed pay-per-view for a while in Britain because everyone rejected it and Sky bailed on it. If you reject it, people will say, the promoters, the platforms, the broadcasting platforms will say, we've got to offer better. If you don't do that and you just let it slide, nothing changes. So Bob Arum's comments, what did you think? Do you agree with him? What do you think should happen? We need to take a stand against this pay-per-view shite. But give me your ideas, give me your thoughts, leave them below. Thanks for your time. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you know, and spread the word about Joe Steiner Boxing because it's your channel as much as mine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much as always. Catch you later and bye for now.